Hey, this is Professor Homa. Welcome to exercise 12C, and I'm just going to work on the testimonials page, and I'll do this real quick. The last thing we did was we did the home page, which is responsive. We did the meet the team, which is also responsive. That's the one where we actually had links that go down the page using anchor links, and we have top links that go back to the top. And what we're going to do next is the testimonials page. And if I click on the testimonials page, what you'll see is testimonials kind of in these light blue boxes with round corners, and there's just a couple of them. I think I just left 4 in here, and they basically have some padding inside of these boxes. They have large quotes, which we're just going to format with a span. They have the same H1 tag that we have on all the other pages, and in terms of being responsive, it's just going to be set up the same way so that these will stack on top of each other, and then the side nav will end up over there. There's a little gap in there which we could tweak later, but that's basically what we're going to do here. Now we're going to use block quotes for these because technically they're block quotes, so we'll use a block quote tag, and we'll use a span just to select the quote that's in here, and we'll even format it a little differently. We'll use like a Times or Georgia bold just so they're nice curly quotes in there. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll get you started on the rest. I have my EX12 folder opened. The last thing I did on here was the meet HTML file, and we're going to be copying that again. So the first thing I'll do here is I'll just right click on meet, and I'll do new file, which will create a file in that same directory, and I'll just call it testimonials, and that will be an HTML file. And what I'll do is I'll go to my meet file and I'll just copy all of that. I'll do a Command A, Control A, and I'll go to testimonials, and I'll just paste. And I'll paste everything here so it's an exact duplicate. Now when I go into the code for testimonials, and the reason I'm calling it testimonials is, remember, we have a link down here that's going to testimonials. That way I don't have to change any of the links. So in testimonials, what I want to do here, I'm going to keep the H1 to start. I'm going to get rid of all these links that were on there, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm even going to get rid of the H2. I won't need that, so I'll wipe that out. And in the H1, I'm actually going to keep the atop because we could still use that ID as long as it's on its own page. We could still use that, and I'm going to call this testimonials because that's the only thing that's going to be on the top of the page. So I don't even have to copy and paste that. So what I'm going to do is go to my Word file, and I have this open here, and this is the same file that you copied the staff from, that kind of staff meet the team. And here I still have it highlighted, testimonials, everything from where do I begin through Megan, whatever her last name is, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that into brackets, and I'm going to paste it right over all the paragraphs that had the meet the team, and I'm going to make sure that I keep, actually maybe I'll leave this atop in there because we're going to use that. So I'll leave that in there, and I'll just kind of bump it down a little bit. Now when this gets pasted in here, you won't see any P tags or anything like that, and what we're going to do is actually make it a block quote. I'm actually going to put a block quote in front of this, and it's a block quote tag because that's what we're using it for. And I'll put an opening and then a closing after block quote, and there it's closed up right now, and I don't have to give it any ID right now. Now also what I do want to change, instead of meet, the article ID, just like we did on the other one, I'm going to call that test. So that's short for testimonials. So this will be article ID testimonial, so we'll have to match that up in our CSS. But as far as what's going on here, a couple things I want to do is in my CSS, I can go and find my article meet elements or my declarations, and I'm going to copy these. Now I need the article meet, I need an H1, I don't need an H2, so I'm just going to copy these right below the article meet, and I'm going to call this article test because that's what I'm using for my ID name, and then I have test down here. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to copy this article homepage H3 because it's actually the same format with that kind of blue rectangle with the round corners. I'm going to copy all this that I used on the homepage. If you remember, we're going to use the same look down here. We won't use the same font, but we'll use the same look that has the rounded corners. We'll have it just like that. That'll have the same padding. Those will be the same styles that we're going to use. So what I can do, if I have that done already, I'm just going to go back to my CSS, and I'm just going to copy this whole article homepage style. Now I won't keep everything, but I'm going to paste it down here and I'll put it as the last one because that's all I'm going to need, I think, other than the span. I'm going to make sure I change this to test, and this is going to be a block quote because that's what we're targeting. So I'm going to target the block quote, and everything will be the same. I might even make the line height a little bigger, so I'll make it like 160 to spread it out a little. I might even change the font size and make that a little bigger. So I'm going to put in font size in here and just make it 1.1 em, just a little bigger. The color is going to be the same, the background color, the padding, the border radius, everything's going to be the same that's in here. So, you know, as long as I have article, test, block quote, everything should be okay so far. And I'm going to go back to testimonials, and I'll just save what I have so far and preview it and see what it looks like so far. And actually, we're almost there. Once we get one done, we just have to copy and paste it. Now, one thing I am going to do is I'm going to change this quote in here, so I actually use a opening quote in here, and I'm going to use a curly quote and change the font and make it a little bigger. So a couple of little things we'll do in there, and then we just have to basically copy this to all the other elements in here, and we'll be fine. And then we just have to update our CSS for our media queries. So that shouldn't take that long. So let me just get in and do a little bit of this, and I'll get back to my page in here. Now, one thing I am going to do for my quote, there is a quote in there, but I'm actually going to put in an actual quote, which I'm going to start with the and sign, and I'm going to look, and I think it starts with a Q for quote. I think it's called like a left quote. So I'm going to put in and look for a left quote in here, and here it is. It's left LD quo. That's actually what it is. If you could look it up, but it's actually a left quote that I'm going to put in here. So I'm going to put that in there, and that's going to be the left curly quote. It won't look any different. But I'm going to make sure that replaces that. And everything I do here, I'm going to copy to all the other ones too. So, and also what I'll do here is I'll put a break in here because I am going to break their names so they're on a different line. And I'll probably put like an italic in here as well. I could do that right now. I'll just put an I tag. I'll just put it right in the HTML. I don't need to make any kind of span for that. So I'll just put an I in there, and that's done. Now, what I want to do with this quote is I want to make it bigger. And I also want to I'm going to have to adjust it a little bit. So what I can do to that is I'm going to give it a span, and that's to something that's within a paragraph. So I'm going to go span equals, and I'm going to do span class equals because I want to make it a class because I'm going to use it more than once. Span class equals, and I'm just going to call it quote. It's just a name you could give it, so I'll just call it quote for now, and then close up that opening span tag and close the span tag right after it. And that's the span for quote. Now I'm going to give this a style. I'm going to give that class a style. So I'll just go here, and what I'll do is I'll just copy one of these so I have some of the copy done. And it's going to be article test. And I could put block quote so I know it's inside the block quote. And then I'm going to do a space because it's actually going to be a span inside block quote. It's not a span name of block quote. It's inside, so it's a child element. So I'm going to put dot quote because that's targeting a class. And for font size, I'll make it, I don't know, maybe I'll make it like 4em. I'll make it really big, and I don't need to change the color because it'll be the same color as the paragraph as the block quote. And I'll just see what that looks like. I'll even change the font. I'll put in font family, and I'm going to use a serif font, so I'm going to use Georgia, and then I'll just put a comma, I'll put serif, I'll put a semicolon, and I'll take a look at what I have so far. I'll refresh this, and that's what I have so far. And what we're going to do in the next video is just kind of tweak this a little bit and finish this up. So this shouldn't take that long.